Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some fun. All right, well, so we're back to 0, and let's make sure we're 0 on ABS. Yep, we are. Okay, so now we go ahead and bring this down. Because we're going to cut this in half anyhow, or cut a slice out of it, we can go ahead and scribe it. And in fact, that's going to help us a little bit later. Oops, not too much there. All right, come on. A little bit heavier scribe line would be nice. There we go. All right, that's center. All right, well, before we do anything, I've struck a line right here dead center for later on. But I think what I want to do is I want to take that line and extend it up here so that when I put this in the vise sideways, I've got a nice center line to work from. So we're going to bring this down. We're going to bring everything over to 0. All right, well, not exactly a kosher setup, but we're hoping that's going to work. I have to leave a lot of room here in order for that saw blade to come through here. And you can see that I've got the nut that holds the saw blade in place right there. So what we did is we came in, put a V-block underneath here, and then clamped 2 clamps to the single V-block. So we have open air space underneath here and open air space up on top so we can get that blade past there. Now, because my rotary table isn't big enough, I'm going to bring it up a little bit. I had to use alternate back clamps instead of these guys, which are the standard. I just kind of came in and scrounged around and found a couple of blocks of steel that would fit. So we've got a nice tight bind. We're centered on that center line right there, and we took it up to that center line up there. So we're centered. We're certainly not centered on the rotary table, but you know, that doesn't matter. Now what we need to do is put that saw blade in. All right, so we've got our saw blade in, and we've got our line. I don't know if you can see it, and I won't point at it, but it's in the red there, and the saw blade is lined up to the line. And so now we're going to go in and cut this entire at one time, just one cut. And there's our 6-inch saw blade. So let's cut away. All right, let's start taking a cut. That's all we can do. We're going to go real slow on this one because there's hardly anything holding it. Hang on, let me make sure I'm nice and snug here. Yep. Okay, we did it. Let's take our blade out and see what we came out with. So I fast forwarded that for you, of course. What took you about a minute took me about an hour. So, and that looks pretty good. Looks pretty damn good, in fact. All right, we're going to call it a day for now, and we'll come back to this tomorrow. Well, Nick Collier here, and it's been about a week since we've worked on this project. We had another emergency project come in, and I filmed that can, which I think is going to come up next. But I'm ready to get back on this baby, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Hey, follow along. Let's have some fun. All right, so what we've got here is this piece, and we need to saw. Well, actually, you know what? Now that I think of it, we need to drill this first. But at the same time, we can, I mean, once we've drilled it, we could come back in and saw this out and all in the same setup. So what I've done here is, if you'll notice, there's a little line right there, and we put those lines in when it was still on the rotary table so that we knew where square was. And so we can drop that down onto the vise and get those lines to line up. But the problem is, of course, we need to get the saw in there to cut it. Well, now that I'm looking at it, that saw is going to have a hard time. Let's see, am I going to be able to grab it at all? Probably not. All right, so the saw is going to have to come in vertically. I can see that now. Which means we're going to have to put our 90-degree angle head in and saw it this way. And at the same time, we could come in with the 90-degree head and drill it that way. So we can still do it all in one setup. It's just going to be a little bit awkward. So let's go ahead and work on that. Let me just get a square. Get my cheater glasses out. And we're just going to eyeball this baby in place here because it doesn't need a whole lot more than that. And we're going to bring it up just so that we can get right there at the bottom. That looks pretty good. And just a little bit more over. That's it right there. All right, now we're clamping down on the part that's still, that hasn't been sawn, so it's going to be nice and strong. And let's see if the saw is going to fit. Looks like it's going to do just fine. Okay, well that's good for that. Now we put the 90-degree head in.
and I'll be right back.
All right, well, this may not be the most accurate way to find 0, but we're going to use this because any other direction, and I will literally have to take the setup apart. And I'm just not willing to do that. All right, I know. This and this are accurate, these two here. Okay, so let's go to the top and measure from the top. Okay, so we come in, we set our line, we move in close, come in with my cheater glasses here, raise it up just a little bit. I think that's our number right there. Let's make sure we're the other way. Make sure we're straight and square. That's about as good as we're going to get, eyeballing it. So that's 0, right? Now we need to come down however much. And the way we're going to figure that is we're going to go from this 0 here down. And except we can't get in there, can we? Well, once more, we're going to have to eyeball it. Well, no, we can get there. There it is right there. So let's take it all the way until the threads bottom out. And that way we know we're square in the hole. That's pretty good. And then we're going to come in. Bring our veneers down. That's pretty good. And we're sitting at 188 thousandths. So 188 from the top. $188. And that's to the top of that. So then we want to add the thickness of our shaft, which is 265. Okay. 188 plus 265 equals 453. So now we're square up there. We're at 0 on our dial. So we want to come down 453. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 30, 40, 53. How does that look? It still looks low. I don't like it. And let's take the measurements again. Well, probably you figured it out already that I didn't divide the shaft size in half, so that works out pretty well. And if you come in close, and we're going to come in close right now. The visuals are right on, spot on. So let's take this beast apart. Pull that out. Put a drill bit in. And we can't really get a center drill in there because there's just not enough room. So we're going to just go in there and be very careful running this bit in. And it shouldn't be a problem. So that's good for the height. We'll bring it back. We'll bring it forward to 0. Oops, the other way. Well, somehow, oh, no. Let's get it off of ABS. I don't know, somehow I screwed up. So we're going to go back and reset this, the width here, and work from there, and we'll be back in a few. All right, well, after about 45 minutes of dinking around with this thing, getting it set up, I think we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and get started here. And what we want to do is just come in really gently to get a center line, or a center hole going. All right, we got our hole drilled, at least our minor diameter. Now, and since it's so early in the morning, we're not going to use the vacuum. Now we need to come in with the major diameter. And what side is that diameter on? Of course, it's on the other side. Yeah. But that's okay. We can come in later, spin this thing around, and just, relieve that hole. And I think that'll be fine. But for the moment, let's go ahead and thread the whole thing. Well, I don't know. Do we need to? Maybe not. Let's just knot and set up for the saw cut, and from that point we will be almost ready. And I'm seeing this looks like it's going to take one single cut, and we're going to be there, and maybe a little bit of up and down, and we're set. We need to get that thing pretty accurate though. So we will take this over until we can eyeball our line, which is right there. That's good. And take a thickness of the saw blade. which is 100 thousandths. And how much was the saw cut on this? $80 thousandths. So we're 20 thousandths wide, but I think we're good. So at 100 thousandths, so if we just come back 50 thousandths, there's 40, there's 50. We are right dead center. Get ourselves a bunch of oil going. All right, I think we did it. Ouch. Let's see. Yep, we're through. Okay, we're going to just back it off and make sure that we've got clearance here. And one way to tell is get a little pair of pliers and squeeze it. All right, so we just grab it and squeeze it. Let's see if we can get some light on the subject. And we've got ourselves a nice expansion and contraction. Okay, so we've got that done. All we have left to do is to drill that out from that side, and we can just do that in the drill press or maybe set up the mill to do that. And then we have to take this bottom edge off because that was our platform to grab it with, and it's extra. So we're going to take this over to the lathe and see what we can do about pulling that off. Well, maybe what we do, because this is starting to get shaky, is we take a shaft, turn a shaft down to fit this, thread this, get this whole thing set up, and clamp it to the shaft, and then we can turn this outside edge. And then also at the same time, we're concentric with that inner shaft, because I'm not absolutely positive about that. So let's go that direction, and we'll get a little piece of material and put it in there, see what we can do. Okay, well, since this is the weakest part of this entire design, we went in with a 9/32, which is a little bit tight for the bolt, but we're going to give it a try. We can always make it bigger. What you can't do is make it smaller. That's spinning just a bit fast for me. All right, so we got our plug of steel. We did a first couple of cuts on it. Now we just have to bring it down to the size, and we're pretty close actually. There's our size. What are we going for here? We are at 182, and this is um, 28 thousandths bigger. So we'll take 14 and see what we can come up with. Let's do a 10. All right, well, it turns out that I don't have an Allen bolt, a metric Allen bolt this size. So we're going to have to make a run to town later this morning. But if you look at this here, I think the reason why this thing broke is because whoever machined this didn't machine a flat at the bolt head. And so what happened is you got that just a slight bit of a arc there, and which meant the bolt would be pushing against the bottom only, and then of course it would fatigue and break. And of course, made out of cast iron, then that's even worse. But this is made out of 12L14, so that's not going to be an issue. But you know what? I want to come in and I want to relieve that area and get that nice and flat anyhow, because 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, this constant tightening and loosening could be a problem there. Okay, so we've got our X and Y set up. We're ready to spin here. Basically, we're just going to come in and counterbore that. Well, not even counterbore, but to just flatten that outside edge a little bit. And since we're sitting on this whole spring action thing, we're going to take this real slow, just so there's no pressure on this. That might just be it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's see what we got. Looks like we're over just a bit, so I'm going to take it back down, lock it, turn it back on, and bring it back a little bit. There we go. Let's see what that looks like. Much better. Yeah, that gives us a flat to work from. and it's not going to put any undue strain on that. You know, it didn't take long, and it just adds that one little piece to it. So basically we got to put this aside until later on this morning when we can go to the store and get a 7mm, I believe a 7mm bolt for it, Allen bolt, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right, well, I realized that, you know, I don't need a Allen bolt that size. What I need is just something to clamp that. So I just got an extra small bolt and nut and ran it through that hole, tightened those babies up, and we got a nice snug fit here. So I think we can pretty much work with what we've got and just start trimming this baby back. Beginning with the shaft, of course. Okay, so now what we have is supposedly we need to have 700 thousandths right here, and we're sitting at 720. So I think what we want to do is turn this thing around and take that extra 20 off that front surface there, just to bring this thing back into where it really needs to be, because I don't know how much room is in between here and here in the actual mechanism itself. So I think we should just kind of err on the side of too much rather than not enough. Okay, take that off. Spin it around. Just bring it up a little bit. So we need to pull 20 thousandths off of this side. All right, well, we're a little under, but that's okay. Under is better. So we got to come in and take our edges off here, and we have to pretty much do that by hand, but I'm going to do it on the lathe so that I can get this nice arc going. All right, just a little bit of counter boring here, or countersinking, and I think we got ourselves a project. A little bit right there. That's good. Oh. I'm going to bring you in close to look at this. Right here somewhere. There it is. There's just a little bit of a split here, and I'm guessing that it's to bring oil in. So we're just going to get a file and split that. We'll be back. And so we come in from this side, and we just give it, I've got a 3-corner file, and maybe we'll just set it on the vise itself. Can you see that? Yep, pretty good. Not totally though, huh? How's that? Much better. Okay, and we're going to come in right at the bottom, and we're going to just start a small, come on. There we go. Just a small groove in the bottom there. Nice. Okay, there's our 2 grooves. I'd say that's just about what we need. And one other thing that I forgot to do, and that is we have a sharp edge on this inside radius. So we're just going to take our half-round file and just go ahead and hand file that out. All right, well, this was a hell of a project. I loved doing it because there were so many little movements that I had to do. I mean, you know, I didn't film the hours and hours of setup, but, you know, hey, somehow the setup goes away once you make a successful cut, and hey, who cares? So I'm having fun. So here's the finish of that project. We're going to send it back off to Dominique in Colorado, and I'm sure he's going to be a happy camper because his dividing head's going to be able to work from this point on. So hey, oh yeah, here, next project. Well, we got one project in between. It's a fun one. It's a little shorty, but the next one's going to be kind of cool. Local guy busted up his pulley and just chewed the shit out of it. And so we're going to take this piece of, I think it's 4140, turn it down, to the sizes of the pulley, and also make a nut or a bolt that goes in the cap here that holds everything together. Now that should be an interesting project too. So hey, this is Nick Collier. Subscribe. Tell your friends. This is Nick Collier checking out.